Send it exactly like this. As part of my job working in complaints, I write letters to customers. We don't use templates and each letter is tailored to the individual. Sometimes customers raise multiple complaint points and each point is carefully addressed in the letter we send. We outline everything the customer is unhappy with, our full investigation and what we are doing to put this right, or alternatively explaining carefully why their complaint is not justified. A new manager, Steve, was hired a few months ago and he decided that we were wasting too much time writing letters, and he was going to come up with a template for us to use as we were obviously too simple to understand how letters are meant to work. So, he goes off and drafts a template and proudly shares it with us all. It was shit, to put it bluntly. It was full of typos and grammatical errors, but it also did not contain details of what the complaint was about or how we had resolved it. Of course, this was pointed out to him in full why this was not appropriate and why it would lead to more complaints and it's basically terrible customer service. He lost his temper, screamed and yelled until 3 separate people cried and 2 logged out of the virtual meeting. Afterwards he sent an email saying he wants his letter used exactly as he has attached it. Who am I to argue? I sent the letters exactly as he had written them, copied and pasted to ensure nothing was changed exactly as he asked. Right down to his signature and contact details at the bottom of the letter. I told the rest of the team and they all are sending letters with Steve's details too. Within the first week he had 40 customers call him and email complaining about the letter we had sent. The week after, 50 irate customers. Steve hasn't looked into the complaints, so he doesn't know how to address any of the customers or understand their issues. So, I get phone calls day in and day out. This man is livid. What was his complaint about? Each time I reply, oh, it should all be explained in the letter I sent. You know, the one detailing all complaint points, my investigation and resolution in full. I would just check that. Bye. The whole department is now under investigation as customer satisfaction has tanked. Best bit is each and every dissatisfaction is scored against Steve. Every other member of staff has 100% satisfaction as nothing is logged against us. Our name isn't on the letter. Steve is on 0%. It's a terrible shame. Edit, goodness me, this blew up. Thank you. Hopefully Steve will get fired soon. We work in complaints, we're pretty thick-skinned. To make 3 staff actually cry takes some serious work. He's vile. I will provide an update if management ever get their act together enough to listen to our concerns. I do feel bad for the customers involved though. The customers that are complaining about the letter don't know that their complaint is upheld and that I've sent them compensation or flowers. They would normally get a letter apologizing deeply, explaining what went wrong and how we will resolve it going forward. Those customers are normally absolute dreams. The only time they come back to us is to thank us. I have never in all my days sent someone a check and a nice letter and had them phoning to yell at me. Poor deluded Steve.
Now to the comments. Write us when Steve gets fired so we can laugh.
Yes, and please use this template. Exactly, dear Reddit. Steve was fired. LOL. Sincerely, /u/bravefield.
Won't work. This is actually to the point and relevant to our issue. I think OP's letter should be, Dear Redditors, we've taken all the appropriately steps to fulfill your request. Sincerely, Steve. Something my dad says that has always proven true: everyone rises according to their level of incompetence. The Peter Principle. He sent an email saying he wants his letter used exactly as he has attached it. I'm so glad it's in writing, as otherwise he might try to throw you under the bus.
Oh, he'll 100% still throw the staff under the bus. It just probably won't work because they've got written documentation.
If you are using MS Outlook and are in a similar position, make sure you set the reply to address correctly. In the top menu, pick options equals direct replies to. This will show a dialog box with a checkmark next to have replies sent to. Fill in the correct name here. When the customer hits reply in their email program, it will then send the reply to the person you designated instead of yourself. Your name will still be in the original from line.
What? What is this feature?
Heavily abused by spammers who use hacked email blast accounts to receive the replies correctly. This post makes my heart sore. I was a technical writing professor and I spent weeks on letters, especially complaint letters, resolution letters, and assorted bad news letters. By the time I was done, my students understood that letters are incredibly powerful when crafted with skill. Letters are a lot like magic wands. Steve is getting what he deserves. He should have paid attention in his TW class.
That sounds pretty interesting. Do you know of any good online resources I could look into regarding that type of letter writing?
This fellow's free online textbook is, in my opinion, a good quality free textbook and has been for years. It's better than most of the short newswire articles you find about writing. Those are often filled with strategies from the 1980s that customers dislike now. I have often used his resources. His chapter on business correspondence is very nice. Of course, it's not a perfect resource. Many of the example letters are too wordy, etc., and it's no substitute for a well-taught class. But it is a good place to get some quick ideas. I literally laughed out loud. I want to hear how this plays out for Steve. This is why brining in outside management rarely works well. Managers who are promoted internally already know how everything works and have usually shown themselves to at least have basic competency. Corporate dogma is ruining so many otherwise good companies.
Nothing worse than having a boss with an MBA and no actual experience in the job they are managing.
They just have a hard time reading, and thought they were applying to be an office mangler. Oh, man. And he put it in writing. He wanted it exactly as attached. This guy has screwed himself so badly. Of course, this was pointed out to him in full why this was not appropriate and why it would lead to more complaints, and it's basically terrible customer service. He lost his temper, screamed and yelled until 3 separate people cried and 2 logged out of the virtual meeting. That's standard narcissist behavior right there. Cannot handle being wrong or being challenged, or a threat to their authority. Comes in, seriously overestimates his own ability, refuses to listen to advice, makes a horrible decision, abuses his team, etc. Narcissists are the worst, and easy to spot when you know the signs.
Another sign, one which I saw quite often lately, is when the narcissist vehemently forbids workflow improvements if the idea wasn't his own.
Another idiot manager showing how he knows more than the people who were actually doing the job. Oh, do I feel this one? I used to work in banking operations for a top 20 US bank. I mostly dealt with lawyers, but people under me had to do this job frequently for really ducked up things the bank did to customers. I gave free rein for how my people wrote their letters, but I required a double check for QC. That means at least one manager and one other employee had to review and sign off on each letter sent to a customer. Well, someone thought I was taking too much time and, like you, created a template, one size fits all, and took my mandatory double QC down to one other employee. Honestly, it made the metrics look good for a month or so, until Mr. Duckster called in furious at the double misspelling of his name. Oh, this is a tasty one. Please, oh please, let me know the fallout. Absolutely brilliant. This is the malicious compliance I live for. What sort of company gets that many complaints, that you can't write the letters quick enough?
You'd be surprised. Without saying where I work, at one point we had over 8,000 backlogged.
Well, I'm guessing it's not ITV, as they got over 42,000 complainants within an hour when Piers Morgan had his little rant about Meghan Markle the other day. So, since his satisfaction tanked, can we call him Scuba Steve?